It's Saturday evening. It's time to talk about the very best comic books in the world with our good friend Drew, who appears to be in parts unknown. Are you in a hospital? What the hell is going on there, Drew?
It looks like a hospital room, but it's actually a small like AV room people can rent out. I am here in the Fisher's Library in Hamilton County in Indiana for the Comic Book in a Day competition. Now, since I'm a professional writer, I cannot compete as a writer, but I can compete as an artist. So my friend is writing the story, and I am illustrating. So if you're here in the area, you want to see me illustrate, now is the time.
Well, very nice. Hopefully you do well in the competition. It would be embarrassing if you didn't, since you are a professional. But we'll see what happens there. We'll get an update next weekend. But we do have some good comic books, and DC in particular had a very strong week. But we're not going to start out with the particulars of their strong week. We're going to start out with something that I'm finding very vexing. You know, I've loved the new changes for DC All In when it comes to Green Arrow. You know, I'm kind of getting on board with Titans. We'll talk about that in a bit. Nightwing from Dan Waters. I was like, I'm not really sure where this is going. On issue 122, I think I'm out. They are making Nightwing, Dick Grayson, look like a complete chump and a moron. We get this story. He's on this rooftop. He's telling his sister, the chief of police, I know who's blowing up the city. It's not the Flyboys. It's not the teddy bears. It's not any of the evil crime people. It's actually Julia Pierce, because I met her one time when I was 8 years old and she had a mask on and her name was Combina. I don't even understand the case he's trying to make. And then they're like, well, what evidence do you have? He's like, well, actually, I don't have any evidence. Are you the world's greatest detective's fucking understudy or not? He looks so unbelievably stupid in this comic book. I can't take it anymore.
That's 100% true. And on top of that, look, I understand that law enforcement can be alienating to some people, but how the law enforcement is written in this, it is disgusting. And how Nightwing treats the law enforcement in this is disgusting. And it feels like more of a continuation from what Tom Taylor was doing through this run in his treatment of the police. And I utterly despise this. And it's treating the gangs, those kids, like they're the innocents, like they're the good people. The ones committing crimes are the good people. The cops are the bad people. It's like, no, Dan, your moral compass is very askew, much like Tom Taylor's. And yeah, no cop or anyone in any of the right mind would go along with Nightwing in this hunch from an instance when he was 8 years old at a circus this one time. It's like, you just randomly thought of this? It does not make any damn sense. This whole run is illogical and doesn't make any damn sense.
Not to mention the fact that he fully admits that he interfered with a police investigation and aided and abetted known criminals that were committing crimes because, well, the police are too violent, whatever. He should be in jail right now because he actually admitted to the crime. And the reason that they're in the right and the gangs aren't the bad guys is because the cops did kill a child. I guess they're forgetting that the kid had a fucking helmet on that was like a mascot head, actually had a gun pointed at the police before they fired back at him. And Nightwing himself, when it happened, didn't realize he was a child. He was absolutely shocked when he realized he was 12 or 14 years old or whatever. Obviously, the police officer that did that would feel very, very terrible about that. Nobody wants to shoot children, whatever. But in the circumstances that Dan Waters himself, the writer, created, there was literally no choice about it.
No, there's no choice about it. It's treating it like the cops knew it was a kid the whole time. It's like, no, this is. I mean, I try not to swear, but this is effing evil. What he's doing to the cops, and yeah, Nightwing. No one knew it. This was a kid, and treating it like the cops had no qualms about it, killing the kid afterwards. Like they actually got a kick out of it. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you? It just really furthers my belief that a lot of these writers at DC and Marvel, their moral compass is pointing south. It is demagnetized. And we need to return to where these heroes used to be and doing heroic things and not treating law enforcement like they're evil. Every cop in this book is treated like they're evil or stupid. And I hate it. I utterly despise it.
Yeah, and that's not even to mention the fact that the plot itself that Spherical Solutions are doing is so over the top, comically, like diabolically twist your mustache bad, that it should be no problem whatsoever for Nightwing and Barbara Gordon to provide evidence that it's happening because it's clear as day, but they never even try to do that. So I think I'm done with this Nightwing. It's not even worth really getting into at this point. I'm just going to dip out of it because it ain't worth my time. But there are comic books out there that are good enough for my time that deserve my sweet, sweet attention. Starting off with some strong indie books, G.I. Joe #3, Josh Williamson writing, Tom Riley on art. I love the fight between Duke and Risk, which gets interrupted with an amazing moment from Stalker that I did not see coming. I thought all that stuff was really great. But the characterization on Cobra Commander, this is not your G.I. Joe cartoon Cobra Commander. This dude is seriously evil. He's seriously dangerous. And when we see what he does to that infiltrator, it's actually quite insane. And then we finally really get to see the Crimson Twins make their entrance into the series. And I loved it beginning to end.
Yeah, me too. I got a kick out of seeing the Crimson Twins show up there toward the end of the book. I loved it. I was like, oh, yes, here we go. But yeah, one thing I brought up when we reviewed issue 2, and how I'm really liking it here in issue 3, is that we're really seeing how, more or less, Cobra is functioning so much better cohesively as a unit. They have their shit together. Whereas the Joes, they're all bickering, arguing, and being contentious and fighting with one another. It's like, it's really showing that our heroes are indeed struggling. And I love seeing that. I love seeing heroes struggle. And it really makes you wonder if the Joes are going to be able to make it through this. And I think that is a truly great thing to see. And like you said, Cobra Commander, this is a Cobra Commander I get a kick out of seeing. Like this is a truly evil Cobra Commander, and I dig it. And I cannot wait to see where we go to next. And although I think all of us are anxiously waiting for Snake Eyes to show up. I'm waiting for it. I know Snake Eyes is going to show up. I don't know when, but I can't wait. But yeah, this is a very, very fun series, just as good as A Real American Hero by Larry Hama.
Absolutely loving that one. And I also can't wait for Snake Eyes. The other indie book that we'll recommend, Pharaoh #9, Tony Fleek's writing, Trish Forstner on art. We've got the further continuation of rabies outbreak / kind of zombie outbreak thing, but really telling a tale of being comfortable versus being in a survival mode, and what are you willing to do to keep your family safe.
Yeah, and not just that, it really shows, I love this, like same with the previous issue, just these cats that really have been brainwashed by their new master that's running this house, this hoarder's paradise, pretty much. The art in this is absolutely beautiful. Trish Forstner, there's a double pager in here where she drew every single cat differently, just they're all fighting with one another, clawing with each other. You got dead cats. It's an absolute nightmare. And she perfectly illustrates how this story, this series, these cats, what they're going through right now, it is an absolute nightmare. And we're also seeing how now that this rabies virus is now spreading to the humans, and I can't begin to imagine where it's going to go from here. Maybe even more dangerous animals are going to be getting this virus coming up. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I love this story of survival. It's terrifying. I personally hate cats, but I'm invested in the survival of some of these cats. I hope they get through this. And where we land here at the very end of the issue, it's going to be a struggle to see how they're going to get out. This is a strong recommend. Feral is a fantastic series. If you haven't checked this out, please do yourself a favor and check out Feral.
Absolutely. And it's a bit of a light week when it comes to indie comic books, but thankfully the big two stepped up a little bit this week. Marvel, very little bit. But we will recommend their Incredible Hulk 21, Phil Kennedy Johnson writing, Danny Rolls on art. You've got the Lycana skin, Charlie fighting Werewolf by Night, and you've got Hulk fighting this big werewolf god thing. Hard to go wrong with a story like this. It would have been off the charts, probably the best comic book of the week if it was illustrated by Nick Klein. But we do get to see Hulk almost like brought down to the depths of hell at a pretty decent hero moment from Charlie. This series was going a little bit off track, but I thought this one was a lot of fun and it had a lot of energy to it. I just wish that Nick Klein was on every issue.
He should have been on this issue. If Nick Klein had done the art for this issue, this would have been a banger. This would have been the pick of the week, hands down. It'd been fantastic. But yeah, the artist in this, like most of the other fill-in artists, he does a serviceable job. It's decent at best. But yeah, it really is a story about Charlie and her becoming that superhero that she's always wanted to be, in fighting off the other werewolves and trying to survive, making it out of this pit of hell. Can he make it out? Can he defeat these skinwalkers? You got to read to find out. Yeah, this is an okay story, but with a fantastic artist like Nick Klein, it would have been amazing. Comic books are a dual medium. You got to have a great mixture of words and art. The words did most of the heavy lifting here in this story. So it's okay.
Definitely a bit of a turnaround in my book, but with better art, it would have been off the charts. But that was a fun one. Hopefully, Incredible Hulk gets a little bit more back on track. Now, let's go over to DC because they definitely had the best week, at least in my estimation. Huge recommend for Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum #1, Jeremy Adams writing, V. Ken Mary on art. This is my personal pick of the week. If you've been hearing about Green Lantern and you're not sure if you should go read it, this is a perfect jumping on point, not only for the ongoing Green Lantern, but for the upcoming Green Lantern Core series. Kind of gets you caught up on all the major players and things that are going on, and really elevates Sorrow, who had been pretty much a joke character to me, even though I've been enjoying Green Lantern, didn't take the character very seriously. V. Ken Marion, the artist, really elevates the design on that character, and he looks so much more evil and menacing in this particular issue. We finally figure out what he's going to do and what's at stake. What's at stake? Basically, the future of the entire galaxy. I love that Guy Gardner is going to play an integral role in actually defeating this enemy by the end, because he is going to be an enormous impediment for these heroes having to rely on him because he's already screwing it up. And Hal Jordan confronting Sorrow and being like, dude, just snap out of it, I thought was hilarious. He's the most emo villain we've ever seen, and he's finally got a look that matches the threat that he's supposed to be.
Yeah, Wes, I completely agree with you in the pick of the week for this book, because we get to a point in this issue where I don't want to spoil it, but it gets to a point, something monumental happens with the Lantern Corps. I just felt like I just said to myself, we're back. This is where everything should be. Everything is perfect. This is how it should have been. And but yeah, also like I said, after that, get the reintroduction of Necron and how he's illustrated beautifully by V. Ken Marion, and I got a lot of Necron vibes looking at him. It was pretty cool, and I just how he's illustrated, when he's bringing about. I got some like Blackest Night vibes from him too. Could be coming up. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, I love how Guy Gardner is very much a focal point to the story, and what he's done with the big book and the records, and I can't wait to see what happens next. The art is beautiful, the story is beautiful, the dialogue's terrific. This is a great jumping on point for anyone who wants to read Green Lantern. Do check this out. Jeremy Adams is the superstar of DC Comics right now.
And it feels like DC's finally catching on to that fact, and he's getting more high-profile gigs. In 2025, he's going to have 3 ongoings, Green Lantern, Green Lantern Corps, and Aquaman. And hopefully he's got bigger, better things coming at DC in the future. Also going to recommend The New Gods #2, Ram V writing, Evan Cagle on art. Now, at the beginning of the first issue, there were a couple of pages that got me worried. In this issue, there's like 6 pages that had me worried. So hopefully that doesn't overtake the actual story, because when Ram V gets into the story about this kid, what the kid represents, and why the new gods and who are all coming after him, and why Mr. Miracle is the one being put in charge of protecting this kid and finding him and keeping him away from certain death, I find it all fascinating and super duper engaging. Once Ram V goes outside the confines of that and gets into the really abstract, weird shit, I almost completely disengage from the story. As long as it's just a little bit in each issue, I'm going to be fine with it. But if it ever overtakes and becomes of like half of what the issue is, I can already tell I'm going to hate this. But for right now, it's absolutely fantastic, and Evan Cagle is making a name for himself.
Yes, he's an absolutely terrific artist, and this is the perfect book for him right now. But yeah, like you, Wes, there are a couple moments in here where I kind of disengaged. The opening of this, I was very like, this is going to be a long read. But it picks back up. But I will say the other moment in this is when it's the stuff between Big Barda and Mr. Miracle with their bickering. This felt like very much too much like Tom King, and I wanted to disengage from that. Big Barda, the way he wrote Big Barda in this, I absolutely despised her in this book. But after that, when we get to Apocalypse, that's where it's at. I love the stuff on Apocalypse there. It is absolutely beautiful. The dialogue with the Sod and Metron, I absolutely loved it, because we get to see what's going on with them now, with this child, and what they're thinking about doing. And we should see that since Darkseid's dead, spoiler alert, that it's pretty much up for grabs now. And it doesn't look too good on Apocalypse. And I can't wait to see what happens in the next issue. This is a very fun read. Ram V, when he stays on target, he delivers a great comic book. And right now, he is staying on target. And I really cannot wait to read issue 3.
Mostly on target.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, he's about 90%, 95.
Yeah. Hopefully that other kind of crap that he might be more interested in doesn't overtake the story, but definitely still enjoying that one. The final recommendation of the week, Titans 19, John Layman writing, Serge Acuna on art, I think Titans so far has been a bit of a mixed bag. You know, it's fine, but it has been good. This is easily the best issue. I think the art by Sergio Acuna is an enormous upgrade over what Pete Woods was doing. Just me personally, I really like the way it looked. And the opening stuff with Killer Frost, where she thinks everyone's talking about her, and it's absolutely hilarious. I was like laughing out loud, but she's like, oh my goodness, Oliver Queen wanted tacos with extra hot sauce. He must hate me personally. I thought was great. We get some good dynamics. I don't like the way that they're characterizing Wonder Girl, Donna Troy in this one. They're making her kind of be not even like a sassy ballbuster, but just kind of an outright bitch. The way that she's looking at Dick Grayson when he's being very, very normal, it looks like she wants to kill him, is a little bit off. But otherwise, you know, I kind of like what Arsenal's doing. That Belton character, we got a little bit of a nice fight there that was a lot of fun. And I do think the reveal at the end that once again, Deathstroke and Psycho Pirate behind a lot of the things that are going on and who they're targeting next. I think it all worked, and this is the first issue of Titans under John Layman that I would recommend.
Yeah, it's just right there, and I recommend. I did enjoy the stuff with Killer Frost in the opening of this because she really does. She is a villain amidst heroes. She is a former villain amidst heroes, and of course, she is going to be paranoid. And like most people who are paranoid, when they see people conversing, they think they're talking about them. It's like, no, that is just you. You got to get over yourself, and it's terrific stuff. And like I do agree with what you said about Donna in this. She's written completely out of character, and I did not like that. But I really do what John is building up here, especially toward the end with Psycho Pirate and Deathstroke. I really hope we get a because how should I say this? Deathstroke was not written that well in the Darkest Night Multiverse Crisis on Infinite Earths event Joshua Williamson did a couple years ago, and I hated it. I really hope that we get a true telling of the Deathstroke character coming up, and I look forward to that. John Layman is a good writer. He can be great when he tries, and I think he's on the verge there. This is just a recommend. I hope the next issue is better. The Killer Frost stuff is a lot of fun.
Kind of enjoyed that one. So those are our recommends for the week. Do want to say thank you very much to Drew for joining me to talk about these fantastic comic books. Best of luck in your competition. I do want to say, if you enjoy this kind of conversation, but you want a lot more of it, the place to be is Thinking Critical Patreon. There's the Hot or Not podcast with myself, not Drew, but our good friend Jim. But we talk about everything from Marvel, DC, and Indies every single week. We go about 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. There's a link in the video description if you want to check it out and support Thinking Critical on the Patreon.